Hi, this is Professor Salazar. Today I'm going to be showing you a tool that you can use for network reconnaissance. It's called Nmap. So if anyone's familiar with using Kali Linux or doing any type of penetration test or ethical hacking, uh, the first phase of any type of cyber attack is reconnaissance. And one of the most popular tools that you could use for reconnaissance, Nmap, which stands for Network Mapper, can be used to uh, check for any type of open ports that are on the target machine. It can also detect operating system versions. It can detect any services that are running. And there's numerous things that the Nmap tool can actually show you. So today what I have planned is to show you a capture the flag activity that I created called Network Recon. And assuming you have a Kali Linux distribution set up, for example, as a virtual machine, you can run through your Nmap tool, you can scan an IP address, and you can capture some flags along the way. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go ahead and show you the site, and then I'm going to show you how you can use Nmap to find these flags that are on the site. Okay. Well, let me go ahead and first start by showing you what this looks like. I'm going to first start by sharing my screen with you. Let's see. Hopefully you can see my screen. This is my Kali Linux distribution that I have set up. I have an account that I created called user01. This is the latest version of Kali Linux. I believe this is a 2026 version. And I'm going to just go ahead and try to put this on full screen so no one has trouble seeing this. I'm also going to open the terminals window. And in the terminal window, I'm going to go ahead and just enlarge this so everyone can see what I'm typing. All right. So I'm just going to run through something like sudo apt update. See if I can update my repositories. I won't upgrade anything just yet, but what I am going to do is I'm going to check to see if I have a tool called Nmap. And all you need to do is just type in Nmap to see if you actually have Nmap installed. You see how I have the latest 7.99 installed. Another thing you can do is up on the applications menu, the dragon icon, if you click on it and you go over to a folder called Reconnaissance, you can scroll down and see if you have a tool called Nmap right there. And you do. And by the way, this is not the only tool that you can use for reconnaissance. Other popular tools are Burp Suite for web application attacks, Derb and GoBuster, which are used for finding hidden pages on websites. Multigo is a very popular tool that you can use also. And ZenMap, which is basically a GUI version of Nmap. Even though I'm not actually going to show you ZenMap, just know that ZenMap is a GUI version of the command line interface of Nmap. So whenever you're using Nmap, you do have to know the commands in order to use it. Now, the next step I'm going to do is open up my capture the flag game that I created. So I'm actually just going to snap these two windows in place so you can see both at the same time. And here I'm going to go to labs.professorsalazar.com/network-recon/. And here's the lab activity that I created. This is a capture the flag game that I built for my students. It says here it's a hands-on lab environment for learning network reconnaissance using Nmap and related security tools. You can click on Enter the Lab, and when you click Enter Lab, it shows you this lab activity where you have a target VPS, a virtual private server, and this is running in the cloud right now. So I could actually go and try to ping this IP address to see if it's alive and if it's responding to me. So what I'll do first is type ping space -C5 because I only want to ping it 5 times with a count of 5. And I'm going to type in 173.255.198.113. Let's see if I get anything back here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pings. Okay, so I know that IP address is responding to me. I know that virtual private server is alive and well. So I can go ahead and move forward with this lab. And some things that you learn along the way are things like port discovery, operating system fingerprinting, HTTP recon, service enumeration, anonymous FTP, and risk analysis. So this is a really good lab for learning a lot of different functions within this capture the flag activity. Open ports and services. So I gave this to y'all just showing you that there are open ports that are running on this IP address right here. So how do I check what open ports are on this machine? Well, I gave you all the command right here. So it starts with, and my apologies if you can't really see that. I know it's kind of small on your end. I'll go ahead and try to maximize this or zoom in a little bit more. All right. So the command that I'm going to type is sudo nmap -s capital V space -p capital N space -p followed by the following port numbers. Okay. Now, let's say, for example, you don't know if there's ports that are open or not. Well, what you could do is just type in -p-, and it's going to cover all 65,535 ports. But the problem with doing that is if you're scanning a VPS online and you're scanning for all 65,000 plus ports, it's going to take a really long time. And chances are, if there's some type of a web application firewall or some type of if there's some type of security, like extra security that's on the machine already, for example, SE Linux, it may actually block any types of probes on those ports. So I basically gave you which ports are open right here. We're just actually going to show it right here. I'm going to type in -p space 21, which is FTP, comma 2200, which I actually changed this port to show SSH, to remote in through a command line interface, comma 6379, which is used for a Redis database. And then I'm going to type in comma 8081, all right, which is an HTTP alternative, comma 8888, which is used for an HTTP Python 3 web server, comma 13306, which is, in this case, I changed it to 13306 to run a MySQL database, space followed by the IP address of my server. So I'm going to type in 173.255.198.113. And this is only going to take a few seconds for it to bring back which ports are actually open. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. I'm going to wait a few seconds here, and in a few seconds, it's going to show me which ports are open. Not only that, but you'll notice that I also typed in -s capital V. -s capital V is also going to show me my service versions that are running. And I also typed in a -p for the ports, right? Okay, so notice how I got something on the left side. I'm going to scroll up a little bit just to see what it actually showed me. Okay. And you'll notice that right here, it's showing me which ports are open on that virtual private server. Okay. It doesn't actually know what 13306 is because it's not common, but this is a MySQL database that's running on this VPS. All right. So you'll see that, okay, I have a Redis for a database. I have an SSH connection. I have an FTP service that's running. Notice that I also typed in -s capital V to show me the versions of those services. All right. This version of VSFTPD is pretty old, by the way. And there's some vulnerabilities that are associated with an old version of this FTP service. VSFTPD stands for Very Secure File Transfer Protocol Daemon. 2.0.8 would be an older version of this. So chances are, if you're running some type of an old version of VSFTPD, there are vulnerabilities that are associated with it. You need to know how to protect those, right? You don't want to leave that port open in that state because it's another way in for a malicious hacker to do something to your machine, okay? So now that I know that those ports are open, I'm going to come down here. And on step 2, the next step would be banner grabbing on port 2200 just to find the first flag. And I actually gave it to y'all here, but if you want to see it, here's what you need to do. Just type ncat space the IP address 173.255.198.113 space the port number that we just scanned that's open. So 2200 was being used by SSH. By default, it uses port 22, but in this case, I changed it to 2200. Okay, so if I hit enter here, we're going to see if there's a flag located within the banner of the SSH service. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And it says here that I do not have Netcat installed on my machine. I'm going to have to go ahead and install it. So I'm going to type Y for yes to install it. And then I'm going to go back and run that same command again. ncat 173.255.198.113 space 2200. Okay. And right there, I already found the first flag. It says, welcome to CyberPath Recon Lab. The flag is port scan initiated 7741. So what I can do is I can highlight that. I will copy it by typing Control-Shift-C, and then I'll go ahead and paste it in the Submit Flags link that I have up on top. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Submit Flags, and I'll submit the flag right here. I'll do Shift-Control-V to paste it and submit it. And you'll see when I click Submit, it's going to highlight this first banner grab flag right here for 2200. And there it is. Flag 1 captured, 10 points. And as you go through this lab, it's going to show you a list of all of the flags that you've captured. Okay. So the next step, if I go back to the lab guide, I'm going to go down and I'm just going to grab another banner off of another port that's open. So in this case, I'm going to grab the banner for 8081. So I'm basically going to type that same command, ncat space 173.255.198.113 space 8081. And when I hit enter, I'm going to see a new flag that I can submit to the lab. And there it is. You'll see that here's the flag right here. It's under the X flag. And it says flag SYN stealth detected 2293. And I'm going to do Shift Control C to copy. Go over here to the Submit Flags and submit it by typing Shift Control V to paste it. I'll click Submit and you'll see that the second one will be highlighted. And that's kind of how you do this lab right here. What we're doing is called banner grabbing. So the way that you grab banners off of services is by using this tool called Netcat or ncat. You might actually see it on other websites or from other books called NC for Netcat. But the important thing is here, I wouldn't actually know where these flags are located unless I knew that there was ports that were open on this machine. And because there are ports open, that's another way for an attacker to gain access to a system, okay? This is why it's really important to know your well-common port numbers, your well-known common port numbers. And I know there's a lot of port numbers, right? I had said earlier, over 65,000 ports. You don't need to know all of them per se, but what you do need to know are some well-common port numbers, especially if you're studying for like a CompTIA Security Plus or a CompTIA Network Plus certification. You want to get familiar with some well-common port numbers. So I'll give you an example of some. 80 is HTTP. 443 is HTTPS. 23 is Telnet. 22 is SSH. 25 is SMTP. 110 is POP3, Post Office Protocol version 3. Remoting into something like a remote desktop or RDP would be 3389. The list goes on and on as to different types of ports that are used to establish communication to another machine, right? So anytime that you're communicating with another machine, chances are you have to have a port on that machine in order to establish that type of communication. All right, I'll go ahead and do a last one here, which, by the way, I'm only scanning, not scanning, but I already did my scan with Nmap. I'm grabbing the banner off of the service to see if there's a flag in it. So I'm going to do 13306. And in this case, this is for a MySQL database. And there's the flag for this MySQL database banner. You'll see that it says MySQL, and you'll see the flag right here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this, Shift Control C to copy, go over here and Shift Control V to paste and submit. So right there, I just grabbed 30 points out of my 120 points. The really cool thing about this lab that I created, and by the way, I'm going to put this in a full screen. The really cool thing about this one is that anyone can go in here and try this capture the flag game. So long as you're not using it for any type of malicious purposes, or so long as you're not trying to bring down that virtual private server or hack into it and steal information or gain access to it. And, you know, there's a lot of people out there that'll try this because it's online. They might try to bring it down. They might try to establish a foothold on that machine, run code or run something malicious off of it just because it's online, right? So one of the things that I did before I actually deployed it online, I made sure that security was the first thing that I thought about. As opposed to deploying it and making sure that it works, the first thing I thought about was security. So I made sure that I secured my ports. I made sure that I ran tools to actually monitor any types of intrusions on it. So I made sure that the firewall was, you know, up and running off of it. There's a lot of things that I did to make sure that this virtual private server is protected as much as I could. But again, since it's online, please don't try to hack it and try to bring it down or anything. This is basically just for learning how to use Nmap. And when you use Nmap, you can also learn that, okay, well, now that I scanned some of those ports, I can also use a tool like NCAT for banner grabbing, right? And then after that, there are things like in task 3 that show you how to detect what operating system version you're running. So in this case, instead of doing Nmap-S capital V only, you can also do a capital O to detect what operating system you're running off of that VPS, right? So in that case, you can use a tool like curl or CURL to actually detect the OS, and then there's another flag that you can submit into the lab. There's other flags that I created here. If you do other types of scans, you can also grab other alternative ports that are being used for HTTP. And then down at the bottom, you can also try to use FTP on it to grab some other flags. So I'll show you one where you can actually use the FTP anonymous access right here. Let me go back here, split the screen again. And I'm actually just going to skip around a little bit, but I'm going to run an Nmap scan like this, where you're using the S_C, which automatically checks for scripts, any default scripts, it'll automatically check for anonymous FTP access. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run that same Nmap command that I did earlier, except this time I'm also going to add a -S, or I'm sorry, yeah, -S_C for scripts. And instead of typing in all of the port numbers that I used earlier, well, I see that port 21 was open, and this one is only going to check FTP anonymous access. Here's a problem with FTP anonymous access. If someone has anonymous access to an FTP server running off of a machine, then you can actually connect through FTP and read some files that are on that machine. You might not necessarily be able to upload your own files, but you can definitely go in there and start reading anything as well. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And in a few seconds, this tool is going to run and show me if the FTP service called VSFTPD has anonymous FTP login allowed. If it has FTP anonymous login allowed, I'm going to try to connect through the file transfer protocol service with the username anonymous. And you're going to see in a little bit that it's not even going to require me to enter a password. So you'll see here that after I ran that tool, I see that FTP anonymous login is allowed, right? Okay, I can actually see some permissions that this anonymous user might have. I actually also see some files that are there, like flag6, enumeration, which might be another directory. So let me go ahead and do this. FTP, file transfer protocol, space the IP address, 173.255.198.113. And when I hit enter, it's going to ask me, because the FTP service is running, it's asking me for a username, right? If I don't know the username, I'm going to type in anonymous, because I know that the anonymous FTP service login is allowed here. It's kind of like using a guest account. So I'm going to hit enter. The anonymous login just failed, but it looks like it was trying to use user01 as the name. So let me see what else I can try here. Let me try doing ls to see if I can find anything. And it cannot, because it says it's already in use right here. So I'll go ahead and exit that. I'll see what I did wrong after the video, but chances are something's not connecting properly here on this service. So I'll go back and check it out. Anonymous, I may have actually spelled it wrong. So let me try it again. Anonymous. And there it is, login successful. And my apologies, I had just spelled it wrong earlier. This time I spelled it right. It connected successfully. And now I can type in a command like ls space -la. This is going to give me a listing of the files and directories inside this FTP server. And it's going to give it to me in a long format. And it's also going to show me all of the files and folders that are associated with that directory, even hidden ones. And you'll notice that anything that's hidden usually starts with a dot before it. So this is actually a hidden directory that's on there. I also see a readme.txt file. I see an enumeration directory, and I see a flag6.txt. Well, guess what I'm going to do with that flag6.txt? I can't actually open it right now. I need to first download it to my machine and then view it. So in order to download it, I'm going to type get space flag6.txt. And there it is. I just downloaded it to my machine. I actually downloaded it to my home directory right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to exit the FTP service by typing in buy. I'm going to type in buy. It told me goodbye. Now I'm back in my home directory, and if I type in ls, I see that I just downloaded my flag6.txt. Now I can use cat to display it on the screen. So I'm going to type cat for concatenate, space, the name of the file, and it shows me the flag right here. So I just access the FTP anonymous flag, which is flag 6. So I'm going to go ahead and do Control-Shift-C to copy it, go here to submit flag, and Control-V to paste it and submit it. And you'll see that it's not going to highlight the fourth one here. It's going to go down here to one of the FTP flags. So, and highlight it for me. So I'm going to hit submit. I gain another 10 points. And if I scroll down, I'll see that this one right here, flag 6, has been found. Right? So this is how you go through this capture the flag activity that I created called Network Recon. And like I said, the cool thing about this is that we're not actually trying to hack into a system and do anything malicious. What we're actually trying to do is learn about some of these tools that ethical hackers use. I'm not going to say malicious hackers do not use Nmap, because they surely do. But you can actually use it for good purposes. Okay. If, let's say, for example, you're trying to protect a network, and by the way, I'm gonna minimize all this and stop sharing my screen. But let's say, for example, you're trying to protect a network of computers. Well, the first thing as a cybersecurity professional, what you might want to do is scan for any open ports that are on any computers off of your network. And the good thing about doing that is that now you have an idea as to what's running off of the machine, what's available, what might actually be vulnerable on that network of computers. And that's kind of your first step when you're a cybersecurity professional. If you're trying to protect something, you want to make sure that you know what ports are open, which ones are filtered, which ones are closed, which ones are being protected by a firewall, which ones are providing services. Are those service versions actually updated? What type of traffic is running off of those services? All of that type of information is important. And as a cybersecurity professional, you want to be familiar with using a tool like Nmap. Okay. So I'll go ahead and stop recording. And that's pretty much the end of my video. Thank you all for joining. This video was just about network reconnaissance using a tool like Nmap. Thank you.